Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show.
Food, fashion, and finance.
This is Marie Waite, your host,
and Kim Yater, your co-host.
KCAA serves 5 million households in the Inland Empire, San Diego, Orange County, and San Gabriel Valley.
And serving the world one household at a time.
We are sponsored by Shelter Studio, Fire Up Connect, and Kim Yater Peak Performance Coaching.
And you can find us at 10:50 a.m., rebroadcasting at 102.5 FM, 106.5 FM. KCAA Radio is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports.
We are in social media, Spotify, iHeart, Tiki Live, Sprickers, Apple Podcast, Ustream, anywhere with your favorite podcast.
Boom, you can find us everywhere.
Kim, who is our next guest?
Well, Marie, our next guest is Miss Susan Kyzer. Susan has spent her career teaching people of all ages about economics and personal finance. Her passion is helping individuals understand how to take control of their finances rather than letting their finances control them. Her journey to financial competency always began with rigorous honesty, knowing her dreams and goals and understanding her people's emotional story. Understanding the emotional story about money is what supports them. She spent 14 years in education at the high school and college level and 11 years as an economic education coordinator for the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. Wow. She's presented to audiences across the United States on topics from financial literacy, career exploration, monetary policy, and economic principles.
Wow, I'm excited. Let's welcome
you. Woo, let's go. Come on, bring her on in.
Hi, Susan.
Well, hi, it is great to see you both today. Thank you, Kim and Marie, for having me on your program. I really appreciate that, and I'm ready whenever you are.
Yeah, it sounds like you such a great experience here. I'm really excited to start our conversation here. So let me ask you the first question. What do individuals need to do before they begin to make a budget?
Well, typically people start out looking at how much money they have coming in and how much money is coming out, and they get out a calculator and a pencil and they start doing that. But I like to look at it completely differently. The first thing I like people to do is to sit down, close their eyes, and ask themselves what their first memory of money is. And once they don't do that if they're driving, but once they do that, think about the emotion that comes with that memory. When we think about our finances, we tend to think it's all cut and dried and just look at the numbers. And the reality is that our emotions and our emotional history plays a large role in our ability to make a budget and stick with a budget. A great example is when we look at that generation that lived during the Great Depression. Those individuals have some really different attitudes about money and finance than what we see today. When we look at our young generation today and the ideas of instant gratification, because they can order it right now and have it tomorrow, their attitude about money and possessions is very, very different. So we need to examine our attitudes and our feelings around money before we sit and be honest about them, before we sit down and start crunching numbers.
Ooh, that is so good. And I got to tell you, the moment you asked that question, I literally thought of a pile of quarters and $50. And I had my first paper route of 130 houses, wheelbarrow in the snow. And it was like my first experience of money. And I made so much as a kid. I was so excited.
So when I hear that, what I hear is you are an entrepreneur and it looked exciting and challenging. Other people might have had that experience as a young person and maybe it wasn't successful. And so their attitude about money might be completely different.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
So good.
I started thinking also when I was in college, and trying to figure out how I saved my money at that time. And I actually made a lot of money selling makeups when I was in college.
So also an entrepreneur. I love that, Marie.
Yeah.
The other thing I encourage people to do before they sit down with their budget, we all have goals that we set down and do like the first of the year, New Year's Day. I encourage people to make a vision board because a vision board is a little bit different than those goals we're supposed to have. And when you're doing your budget, make sure that vision board is next to you, because if there's something that is looming large on your vision board, but it's not showing up in your budget, you're not going to be happy with the outcome.
Well, Kim, didn't you do a vision board too?
Well, take a look at my screen.
Look at
I just
that.
switched it over. Everything you're saying is so on par. Oh my gosh. Yes, vision boards are absolutely everything. I had a whole team of people that built out vision boards this year. So can you see my vision board? You get
Yes,
it?
I can. That's awesome.
So excited. I have it hung up. I see it constantly. I'm speaking out those affirmations, because what we focus on, we bring about, right?
Absolutely. And think about how it would feel if you had a vision board. Let's say we're working with a partner, you had a vision board and you're looking at your budget, and none of those things on your vision board are showing up in your budget. There's going to be a lot of unrest and unhappy feelings and stress and not wanting to stick with that budget. So before we even get to numbers, we need to know who we are. We need to be honest about that. We need to communicate that if we're doing a budget either by ourselves or with a partner, and make sure we're really clear about what our dreams and goals are.
Gosh, that is so good. Okay,
Yeah,
so
so-
tell us, why do budgets work?
Why do they work or why do they not work?
Okay, well, I'm hoping they work. So why do they work?
Well, so I think if a budget that is well executed works, if we plan for all those things. I like to say a budget is a tool to make our dreams come true, right? And so if we think of a budget that way, that here's our dreams, we've identified them, we've set that budget up, and budgets work when we set up incremental rewards or measurement systems that are realistic. Budgets don't work when we don't hold ourselves accountable and we don't take into consideration those things that change that are beyond our control. And I'll give you a really great example. In the last 2 weeks, the price of gas has gone up.
Yes.
Let's say that you have, in some places, I think it's almost doubled. So let's say that you have a budget and you're only spending $20 a week on gas right now, because you're not driving that much, and the price doubled. So now you're going to have to spend $40 a week. Guess what? Your budget is now broke. It's not going to come out. You're going to come out broke. You're not going to be able to put all the money all the places it needs to be. So we need to be able to say, guess what? We need to sit down periodically and hold ourselves accountable. I think that's where budgets can work if we're willing to hold ourselves accountable. And it's where they don't work because we get into the, oh my gosh, there's nothing I can do about that. No, if it's really important that you have gas, where are those areas where you can make those changes? It's not your fault that the price of gas changed, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to adjust your budget. So budgets are living, breathing documents. They're not something that we just write down once and then go check them every 3 months to see how we're doing. They're things that need to be an important part of our life, always reflecting the direction that we're headed in, so they really can make our dreams come true.
Oh, that's so good. Always remember the point that we're headed in. That's incredible. Yes,
Thank you.
where we're going. We have vision. We know where we're going.
Yes.
I love it. So I got to say, last night, my husband and I sat down and we went through planning for taxes, right? So we went and just got everything in order, and it was the best feeling. I actually didn't get a sense. I didn't even know how much I had really made over the year. And I got the numbers yesterday and I was like, oh God, it's good. It's so fun to work numbers.
Especially, Kim, if you feel like you're really meeting your goals based on how you're budgeting everything. I think, part of my question is for most people out there when they have to adjust, what are the things that they could really focus on in terms of adjusting those numbers? Because sometimes it's not easy for them to really see where to adjust. So can you give us some insights on that?
So Maria, I think that's a really great question. And I think that's one of those conversations we need to have with ourselves and with a partner if we're working with somebody else, even before we get to the point of making those adjustments. So as I'm looking at Kim's vision board, there may be some really important things on there that if she had to adjust, and I don't know what's on there, but I'm going to just make something up. Let's say it's really, really important to her that she has a new outfit every week, right? Like that is all over her vision board. That's got to be happening. So there she is, right? And so if she sits down with her husband to look at the budget and he's like, I don't care about clothes, we're just going to get rid of the clothing budget, that's it. I don't know Kim, but Kim is going to find a way to get an outfit.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's going to happen. I don't know where she's going to find the money, but that means that we then end up telling stories to ourselves. We end up not being honest about where we're spending our money. And so you need to have that discussion before that thing happens that throws your budget off, because life happens I'm keeping it clean. Life happens. And we know that every month something is going to come up, right? Life is uncertain. The kids are going to need something. The water heater is going to go out. The price of gas is going to go up. Something is going to happen. And so just know that when it happens, what are the categories where you're willing to make a sacrifice? And have an honest discussion either with yourself or I said, like with your partner about where there is, so that when you're in crisis, you don't have to have that discussion. If you have that discussion in crisis, it will frequently go from a discussion to an argument. And then it's not productive.
So Kim, speaking of crisis, and Suzanne, I mean, with all the COVID and a lot of people losing jobs, I mean, is it too late for people to create something for, securing them when they're in crisis? Is it too late?
Well, so I never think it is. I think it's always important to put down your dreams. So they have some kind of income coming in, of some sort. And so they need to write down their dreams, have their vision board, see what that is, and then start having that discussion, even if they're only talking about $10 a week, right? If they say, okay, $10 a week, where would we put it? And maybe we would take half of it and put it into our emergency fund. And the other half of it, we're going to do this thing for ourselves, whatever that is. It's going to be added to our fund for real estate investment. It's going to be added to our fund for education, whatever it is that you have a priority, because it's about getting in the habit of making those decisions, having those discussions, and then allocating the money where it needs to be allocated. So I know it's a hard time for people, but no matter, it's not about how much money it is. It's about the process of going through it.
That's key. Oh my gosh, what you just said, it is about the process. So we're never really stuck. I mean, we might be stuck and it's not a problem being stuck, but it's staying there. There's always a way out. There's always a way of creating that conversation, right? There's always a solution. We got to step outside of the box.
Right.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So I have another question for you.
Yes.
How can we hold ourselves accountable?
Well, I think a couple of things. First, we need to know our own personality. So what do you respond well to? Maybe for some people, it's collecting all the receipts. Maybe it's about having their bank account send them a text message every time they spend money. Maybe it's having an accountability partner, maybe that's outside of their family that just says, hey, this is my goal. For some of it, it's about getting rewards. When I hit my goal, then I get a reward, whatever that is for you. I think this is, again, about knowing ourselves and knowing what motivates us. And most of us, read 3 or 4 different things and say, well, this is how everybody else does it. This is how it works for me, for them. And so we're going to do the same thing. But what might have meaning for me might not have meaning for you. So every week sitting down, looking over the numbers and seeing how you're doing, knowing that some weeks you will get it wrong. And that doesn't mean you did anything wrong. That's just what happens some weeks. And not giving up and going on and keeping to go on. So hold yourself accountable, review them every week. If you need a cheerleader, have a cheerleader, whatever that is, get up every morning and say, hey, great, you're doing a great job. But be honest with yourself about what motivates you. And it's different for each one of us.
Okay, so how did they get hold of you, Susan?
So, I'm sorry, Marie, what?
How did they get hold of you if they need your help?
Oh my gosh, how about through you guys? I mean, I am happily retired and doing this just because I think this is, particularly for women, the one area where we let our finances control us and control our dreams. And I don't think that should happen, right? So we should not be limited by our access or understanding of finances. So okay. How about through you guys?
All right. So Susan, people are going to reach out to us in order to reach you, which is great because we want people to reach you for sure. And one of the things that I'm going to take home is, I plan my week out and I work my plan. Okay. But I don't plan my financial week out and I don't review the week before. So I'm going to take that home with me and I'm going to begin putting that into practice. So next time we talk, will you ask me how that's going?
I will. Absolutely. And Marie can hold you accountable also.
Yes, you can, Marie.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Susan. I mean, this is an incredible, I think, Kim, you and I needs to have some sort of a live audience where we can help them with their budget, and we'll bring Susan in this discussion. Yes,
I love that. Yes.
Thank you so much for letting me speak with you today. Take care and have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You as well, Susan.
Bye now.
Bye.